It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Thursday? We do. You do. From the Dixieline Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, we welcome you to our Thursday podcast as we go towards a great sports weekend. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host John Riley. We're here for the next hour plus our Thursday get-together. This podcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego, and the new one that's opened up in Dana Point. You got projects, they've got materials. Do you want ideas? They can become your best friend. Dixieline Lumber. Build it, fix it. We guarantee you will enjoy it in 2025 at Dixieline Lumber. And go to Dixieline.com to see all the different things that they offer you. John Riley, we got stories breaking here, there, and everywhere. We're going towards a busy, busy weekend. And, of course, just next week, beyond the weekend, will be the NBA and the NHL draft. Man, there's a lot to talk about.
You know, I used to think that this is seasonal a little bit. You know, there'd be certain months where it'd be a little bit of a lull in the world of sports, but it's not. No, it's every month, man. We're redlining every month.
Yeah, we're going a lot of different directions. Just a couple of business notes. We do sports talk the way it should be done. We put a lot of topics on the table, and when we do that, then we invite you to join us right at the end of the podcast with something new that we developed. It's called Fans Forum. We give you the opportunity, ask questions, make statements, respond to what I said, what this guy said, take your own public stance. John, how do they get onto the Fans Forum part of the podcast?
Okay, so here's what you got to do. If you want to go, you go on the live chat on X, on YouTube, on Facebook. Just type your comment or question there. Hacksaw will see it. We'll put it up on the screen, and we'll get you involved in Fans Forum at the conclusion of Hacksaw's Headlines.
So that's coming up after we're done putting hot topics on the table. Second item, I write sports. I cover a ton of things. I did sports talk on radio that way. Everything is here. We on the waterfront. Well, I do the same thing now. It's all written form. It's on my website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. If you like sports, when we're done with the podcast, check it up on the internet. You'll be amazed at the volume of sports. It's there every day. It's there first thing in the morning for you. By the way, on the homepage, there is a orange box. You can sign up and join Hacksaw's Insiders Group. When you do that, you get on the email list. You got some inside information that we don't make available to everybody else. It's absolutely free. So become part of the Insiders Group. You're big on social media. Hell, I'm big on social media. I want you to join my Twitter All-Star team on X. Just type in my name, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Hit the follow button or go to Hacksaw 1090. Hit the follow button. So every time I put something up on social media, you'll get access to it. Want you to share. Tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Want you to subscribe. When you subscribe on the YouTube channel, you'll get the alerts that will come every time we put additional videos up on the YouTube channel, in addition to our weekly podcast. So we go a lot of different directions, and we're on all types of different platforms. I can't count on my fingers how many platforms you're on. John can tell you.
Yeah, like we're on like about 8 of them. You know, it's amazing. You have a fire hose of sports content, man, and you just go ripping, and we get it on Facebook, on X, on YouTube, on Rumble, on Blue Sky, we're on a ton of different, Instagram, of course, TikTok. You know, we'll be on TikTok as long as it's still legal.
And we're in the air everywhere, on the air right now with the podcast, so we invite you to join us. John, we've got a lot of topics on the table. Let's start, first of all, with a commentary before we get to hot topics on the table. I knew this was coming. I feared it was coming. I thought this was going to happen in the sports world. I'm talking what happened at Dodger Stadium. ICE, the immigration people, tried to gain entrance to Dodger Stadium today.
Really?
Thursday, leading into the Dodger-Padres game. They were barred by the Dodgers because they refused to unlock the gates. LA police showed up as protesters showed up once the word got out on social media that ICE was on the freeway at Dodger Stadium trying to get in. Dodgers have made no public comment except they asked the police to come and security to come, so there were no issues with the protesters that showed up after ICE showed up. ICE wanted to use Dodger Stadium parking lots as a staging area. I feared that this immigration thing was going to spill into sporting events. I was surprised it did not happen this past week at the Gold Cup soccer games, Rose Bowl, SoFi Stadium, down in Carson. And why would I say that? Because massive Hispanic support for pro soccer. The question is, are you going to round up everybody who's Hispanic in a parking lot at Dodger Stadium or at the Rose Bowl with the hope maybe you'll find illegal immigrants or, quote, criminals? It's a big issue, the way this thing is being conducted. And it really hit home to me because I have a Hispanic neighbor I talk to all the time. And I just happened to ask him what he felt about what was going on. And he said, you're lucky your last name does not end in Z, that your name doesn't end in Hernandez, Ramirez, Gonzalez. He says, because that's the feeling that the Hispanic world has, that if you have Hispanic heritage, somebody's going to show up at your front door, confront you, and take you away. Whether you're legal, illegal, good person, or criminal. That's the atmosphere that we're living in right now. And now it's just not society. It's just not at Home Depot. It's not at a shopping center. It's not at a workplace. Got to tell me ICE isn't going to go through the parking lot at Dodger Stadium when the gates open looking for illegals, which means looking for Hispanics. I'm sorry. The way this has been conducted to me is pitiful. You look at those ICE agents with all their guns and their bully tactics and their handcuffs, wearing masks. You'd have to argue long and hard that this does not resemble all things Gestapo in the 1930s against the Jews in Europe. And this whole ICE operation has now spilled probably into the sports venue. And this is what part of America voted for, because this is what the White House wants. This is not America. Am I right or am I right? That's one man's opinion on this situation at Dodger Stadium. You were not aware what was happening at Dodger Stadium just before 12 noon. It's stunning, and I expected something like this to happen, and I don't think we're done with this right now. John?
Wow. Okay. I was not aware of this story, but I could count on you for getting the late breaking news. And yeah, when this creeps into sports, then it's free game for us to comment on that. Two things jumped out at me when you were explaining everything. One is I was kind of getting flashbacks to the whole eminent domain thing at Chavez Ravine when they were dragging, old Latina ladies out of their houses so they could take over the property and build Dodger Stadium, which created bitterness in the Hispanic community in LA going for decades until Fernando came along in the 80s. And the other thing I'm thinking about is there have been, immigrants in baseball for sure, and I know all of our sports, but there have been some heroic immigrants that have come to America, like escaping Cuba, And so I would imagine that some of the ball players, in various sports may have been illegal aliens for a period of time before the ownership and of the corporate, team took them under their wing and got them all their paperwork organized. So there's a lot goes on with immigration and sports. And I think it's an interesting angle to talk about because this is real. This is our society now.
Right now, the only player I know that's commented on this is Kike Hernandez, Hispanic background, who said he does not believe and does not side with the way this whole thing is being conducted. These massive sweeps of Hispanics. And now we find out after the fact, innocent people got dragged out and trying to get back into the country. Or trying to have somebody with legal standing help them resolve this mistaken arrest, abduction, kidnapping. Kike Hernandez of the Dodgers is the only one that I'm aware that has publicly spoken out against this. It'll be interesting to see going forward. Does this spill from Dodger Stadium to Angel Stadium? Is it going to happen down in San Diego at Petco Park? Is it going to happen across the broad horizon at all soccer venues where Hispanics are the biggest following, supporting soccer teams. It's a bad set of circumstances. The way it's being conducted, that's the thing that has set me off. As I say, am I right or am I right? Okay, we move on because we got a ton of other topics on the table. John, let's start with the story that came like a bolt of lightning out of the sky middle of this week in Los Angeles about the NBA team.
Yeah, the Lakers were sold. I heard it was $10 billion.
The Buss family has owned the Laker franchise since 1979. We all know what Jerry Buss meant to the NBA and what he meant to the LA Lakers. The Lakers became Showtime. The Lakers became the stopping point for every great player of that era, 70s into the 80s, into the 90s. Lakers 12 championships along the way during the Buss era. Jerry passed on. His family, led by the daughter Jeannie Buss and the sons, took over operation of the franchise. They struggled early on. Jeannie finally gained full control, had her brothers removed from the operation, has run a decent franchise. Jeannie Buss equals Phil Jackson, success, Shaq, Kobe, etc. Jerry West, last great general manager, but he left because of the decisions Jeannie Buss made. And then all of a sudden, it became dysfunction junction. Do you know, with all the trophies they have in their office window, that look down on the practice facility, and John, it's really impressive. With all those gold NBA trophies, they have only one championship in 13 years under the Jeannie Buss operation. They've had only 6 winning seasons in 13 years. They've had change after change after change in general manager, and obviously roster turnover. The question is LA Laker basketball a destination point any longer? Might be right now. Mark Walter from TWG, big global investment firm, bought controlling interest. I'm told 66% of the stock from Jeannie Buss. She will continue to be the representative on the board of governors to the NBA on behalf of the Lakers. But Mark Walter runs the Dodgers. We know what Dodger baseball has become. All those first place finishes, World Series rings. We know the Dodgers, record payroll. The Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani. And what the Dodgers have done in terms of commitment to things in the community, plus the renovation, $500 million to historic Dodger Stadium at Chavez Ravine. So it's nobody expected this. But at the end of the day, the price was phenomenal. $10 billion, the highest amount of money ever paid for a professional franchise, was in the NFL. The Washington Redskins Commanders were sold to Josh Harris for $6. Mark Walter bought the legacy that is Laker basketball at $10. Money will be no object. It will no longer be a family-run operation. It is financed by Mark Walter TVG or TWG, and we know what corporate financing has done in terms of making the Dodgers a better organization. To me, it's a fascinating story.
This just came out of left field. I mean, I didn't see this coming at all. You know, funny you call it dysfunction junction. You know, it's like that old Schoolhouse Rock. You know, like what's your function, man? So, I think if you're a Laker fan, I think this is great news. I mean, because there's been a lot of question marks about Jeannie as the leader of that organization, and it seemed like previous Lakers, you know, going back to the Dr. Buss, and then who was the guy before? It was Kent Clark?
Jack Kent Cook.
Jack Kent Cook,
entrepreneur, Minneapolis Lakers, founded the LA Kings, built the Great Western Forum, but Jerry Buss moved in and bought it as Jack Kent Cook became an older gentleman, and he elected to step away from sports. And Jerry Buss's tenure is great as anybody in the league.
But you know what's interesting is all of those eras, I always think of the Lakers as being a very homegrown roster that will go out and cherry pick and get the one big dude, you know, whether it was Wilt the Stilt or it was Kareem or it was Shaq. but they wouldn't go for like 4 or 5 big name guys. You know, they went and bought one, but then they drafted well and had a good organization and they surrounded them with talent. The Jeannie Buss era has been a failure at doing that.
I think so. The last great homegrown Laker, Kobe Bryant, a long time ago. That was a Jerry West acquisition, and Jerry was the tail end of the Jerry Buss operation.
Mm-hmm.
And Magic Johnson came on board, and that did not work out, and they've gone through GMs and coaches, etc. You're right. I mean, you reflect back on the greatness of the Lakers. Magic, draft pick, homegrown.
Mm-hmm.
James Worthy, homegrown. You go way back. Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Gail Goodrich, all homegrown.
Yeah.
So, new era coming. It's going to be fascinating to see what the Lakers become under Mark Walter compared to what they've been in the recent years under Jeannie Buss. And I like Jeannie. I've interviewed her a number of times, had good working relationship with her when I was doing sports talk radio. But at the end of the day, scoreboard does not lie. Look at where your franchise is now compared to where it used to be. There have not been any trophies nor any jerseys hung up there, with the exception of one championship in the COVID season. So this fascinating story.
Now, do you think like Jerry Buss is up in heaven somewhere? Do you think he's smiling, or do you think he's a little bit upset?
They're going to bring back the legacy of what it was.
And his daughter's making bank. I mean, you know, that asset's really cashed in. Well, I got to think he's happy right now.
I think so too. And we'll just see what the end result is. But that scoreboard does not lie. That scoreboard at Dodger Stadium is a prime example of who Mark Walter and TWG is. And Guggenheim is owner of the Dodgers. Look at what they've become in the last 12 years.
Oh, God. Now we're going to be going Lakers, you know, with this good management. So, yeah, they got money. They got the backing. Good for them.
Okay. You're an NBA fan, somebody who's a Lakers fan. Jump on the Lakers line in the fans forum chat box. Give us an opinion. Want to hear what you got to say about that. We're not done with basketball. We got other topics here, John. Next one.
Yeah, we'll talk a little NBA Finals, and Pacers got their back against the wall.
Yeah, final game of the go-round here. Oklahoma City Thunder up 3-2. Indiana has really been figured out. Indiana got beat. Indiana got hurt. Tyrese Halliburton has gone down. He's got a strained calf. He's going to try to play, but I just don't know that he can hold up. Can Indiana win without him in a must-win game? But it is in Indiana, so keep that in mind. But every time Oklahoma City has suffered a setback, they've come back with a vengeance. And, I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has just been absolutely spectacular. And he makes plays. He hits long shots. He has courage to go to the basket. He gets banged all over the place, and yet he has the ability to execute in traffic and make plays. It makes everybody around him better. What we saw in that fifth game when his teammate Jalen Williams went off for 40 and SGA had 31 on top of it. And then all the guys coming off the bench from Caruso to Hartenstein. And obviously Chet Holmgren has had really good games. It's a very good, very deep, about to be the championship team, I think. I think it's been a fun playoff series. The country's ignored it. Nobody's watching it. The worst TV rating since 1988. And how can you not watch the grittiness and the toughness of Indiana trying to claw their way into it? And how can you not watch the brilliance of everything Oklahoma City is?
It's been a great series to watch. I agree with you, even though 80% of America doesn't really care about these two teams. I'd hope it goes 7. I mean, game 6 and 7 are both in OKC, right?
No, game 6 is in Indianapolis.
Okay.
Tonight.
Okay.
Game 7 will be, if there is a game 7, back in OKC.
Okay, this always gets me confused with playoff series
Look confused, yes.
Because sometimes, you know, they'll do, remember it was 2-2, 1-1-1, or it'd be 2-3-2, know? But usually now they usually do the 2-3-2 in most sports. So game 6 and 7 are always at the same place.
Wrong.
Okay.
NBA 2-2. 1-1-1.
I like that better. Okay. And by the way, there's a lot of people talking about the OKC Thunder saying this could be a dynasty, you know, going for the next 4 to 5 years. Do you buy that?
Well, they're so young and they have the rights to these guys for a whole chunk of years. I mean, just think now Alexander is the oldest of the lot. He's 26. Everybody else is 24 or younger.
That's
led
amazing.
by Chet Holmgren, who's 20.
20?
Yeah. Remember, he left Gonzaga early.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
He's only a second-year player. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. The job that Sam Presti has done as general manager in terms of player acquisition, absolutely amazing. They've stockpiled so many draft picks. Now, before they got good, they were really bad. The post Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook era, they really were bad. So at the end of the day, they've arrived, and I think they're going to raise the trophy. If not Thursday night in Indianapolis, then obviously Game 7 at home.
Are Seattle Supersonics fans bitter right now? What do you think?
No, they're just waiting for expansion.
Okay, you think they've kind of turned the page?
They had to.
Yeah.
Okay, on we go. We got one more basketball topic on the table. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Cat fights? Are we going to talk cat fights?
Let's talk about what happened in the WNBA. I saw the video immediately after it happened. I said, oh, this is ugly. And I saw the video and I said, okay, I'm waiting for the WNBA to hand out suspensions. And then I saw more video and nothing happened. You got to be kidding me. We're talking about Caitlin Clark. So they are beating the Connecticut Sun, former NBA or WNBA champion. They're kind of banging on them really bad. Caitlin Clark dribbles the basketball, goes to the top of the key, and gets whacked across the nose and the eye on a really hard foul. And she's taken a lot of hard fouls in the year and a half she's been WNBA. So she turns to the Connecticut guard who banged her and looks at her. And one of Connecticut's bigs walks up from behind and slams her to the floor, kind of a body check. And so now the referees are all standing there. Nobody called a technical. You're not calling a technical for hard foul. You're not going to call a technical for third person in, body slamming Caitlin Clark face down. No. So free throws. Next possession down, Connecticut player who committed the first foul goes in for a layup. And one of her teammates, Caitlin's teammates, grabbed her in a headlock as she was going up and threw her to the floor.
That was
which
awesome.
Erupted into a bench clearing incident there. So the next day, the WNBA is going to hold a hearing. They hold a hearing, and they just hand out fines. No suspension. How can that be? So is this what the WNBA is going to turn into, a cat fight? All the African-American girls against Caitlin Clark? Jealousy, stupidity, etc.? I am surprised that Caitlin didn't turn around and pop somebody in the mouth because A, she got a hard foul from the first hit, and then B, she got body slammed by one of these big uglies from Connecticut, and nobody did anything. The referees are standing there looking. You got to be kidding me. So anyhow, that's where we are. I don't want the WNBA to turn into Women's Wrestling Federation.
These are just funny comments from you on this. So first of all, she was getting knocked around by a lot of white girls too. So let's not make it a racial thing. It's ridiculous. Everything about this is dumb because they need to. She is a superstar. Regardless of what you think about her, she's the reason ratings are going up. They need to treat her and protect her properly. Maybe they need to get a Marty McSorley, goon to put out there to protect her, some enforcer.
They just need to be fair to her in defense of her getting all these cheap shots.
Well, yeah, it's not right. But that young lady, I think her name is Sophie Cunningham.
Yes.
And she was the one
did the headlock.
Yes. And I just thought, man, I love that. That's the thing about like women's sports that I enjoy as a guy watching because they're talented athletes. Okay. A lot of these women, they won't take any BS from anybody, they're going to go out there and they're going to be tough, and they're beautiful at the same time. It's great entertainment. And do I want it to be a WWE? No, but Clark is the golden goose. You can't be doing this to her.
You can't be doing it to anybody on a consistent basis. No. And she seems to be victimized all the time. And to me, she's shown toughness.
Oh, totally.
And just unbelievable composure not to turn around and punch somebody in the mouth. Because the hits that she took in the game against Connecticut were way, way over the line. And there's no doubt a couple of them were really, really intentional. So all things WNBA, feel free to join us. Fans Forum chat box is open. That thing is filling up because we have already touched a lot of hot buttons with different topics on the table. We're going from that. Let's talk baseball.
Yeah, Dodgers-Padres in this series is it's dangerous. Might be a sweep.
It's been really wild baseball. The pendulum has swung back and forth emotionally. The Dodgers winning the first three in a wide variety of ways. A lot of bad blood. Beanballs, umpires, ejections, hot-headed reaction from players. At the end of the day, I told you so. At the end of the day,
I told you so.
I was really concerned that the Padres are a half a team going to Dodger Stadium for this 4-game series, and now they're facing the reality it might be a 4-game sweep.
Yeah, you
at
did.
Dodger Stadium.
You warned us.
I told you so.
Yeah.
This Padre team at one point was 14-3. Let me just quote the statistics for you. Since going 14-3 out of the gate, when they didn't play anybody, they're 25-31. They've lost 10 of their last 14. Against teams with winning records, John, they're 17-27. And against the elite teams that they've played this season, the Padres are 6-15. They don't look like a first-place team. They don't, at this point, play like they're a wild card team. Team has obviously got all kinds of problems. And again, during the course of all these heated 3 games, Tatis got plunked. But he got hit by the 11th pitcher on the Dodgers staff, who's probably more of a minor leaguer than a major leaguer. I don't think it was intentional because that guy's been walking guys the whole time he's been in the major leagues. Ohtani got nailed by Vasquez. One time Vasquez jammed him inside, almost hit him. The next pitch, he did hit him hard on the quad. That looked kind of intentional to me. And of course, that led them to the arguments. Then later in the game, Iglesias got hit on the wrist. I didn't think it was intentional, but it had to hurt because it was like a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. And then you get the arguments. Dave Roberts, totally unglued. I've never seen him like this, going after the umpires. He got ejected, but you can't come out of the dugout after warnings. But he came out of the dugout and figured, if I'm going to get tossed, I'm going to tell them what I feel about their interpretation of the rules. And then on top of that, the Dodgers just found a way to hit the hell out of the ball and pile up wins. You know, Ohtani's hitting home runs. Teoscar Hernandez is going deep. Will Smith in the bottom of the 9th inning goes the other way for a game winner. And Andy Pages, who right now has played himself into being an all-star, he's hitting the ball everywhere. He's also getting plunked. He's staring and glaring at pitchers. And then Mike Schultz has the audacity to stand on the top step of the dugout and yell at Pages, "Who the F are you?" And then Pages the next night goes out 4 for 4 and throws a guy out at home plate.
Yeah.
And Max Muncy's response at the top of the dugout, "That's who that guy is." So a lot of bad blood. Holy cow. So it's going to be very interesting just to see where this thing is going to go. And this whole thing started with Shohei Ohtani's first start. And it was 28 pitches. He was really overamped. You could see it. He was overthrowing, but he threw 100. He came back the next day and said, "I studied the video. My arm was ahead of my body, and that's why everything was sailing wide, sailing wide." So there's a science to how Ohtani pitches, etc. He's going to get a chance. We'll see what the second outing is going to be. He's going to pitch on Sunday against Washington. I hate to say the Padres season is over, but the Padres are in a world of trouble. You know, Yu Darvish is going to attempt a simulated game on the weekend. They have no idea on Michael King or treatment. I've been told herniated disc in the neck is impacting the shoulder. The doctors have done the scans, can't find anything structurally wrong with the shoulder. He can't throw. He can't pitch. Padres are in, I just think, a world of trouble. And to complicate everything, beyond the arguments and the beanballs and all that, and Shohei throwing 100 miles an hour, when they're done with this series, after this Padre-Dodger Thursday game, the Dodgers' next 12 are against Washington, Miami, Colorado. National League West race over?
Oh, man. It's not even like July yet.
I told you so.
You did warn us that this could be an ugly road trip, and it has been.
Yeah, it really has. So I guess a burning question. Padres flamed out. Oh, the Padres are fraud. Can they be rescued by their general manager? And how is he going to do this? And who he's going to go get? And what's he going to give up to try to fix? Because you can't play the rest of June into July, into August with the roster they currently have. They might not even be a playoff team. Fans out there, I'm piling on. You're full of crap. I'm telling you the truth as to what's happened to this team You saw it. Fans Forum chat box is open. You respond. John, you're entitled to your opinions from left field. Go ahead.
Hacksaw, why are you so negative? So, well, clearly the Dodgers have a better roster. They got a lot more money, more resources. It's Dodgers. So dragons are hard to slay. Okay. You know, they're big, burly beasts with strength, and they've got, it's like, you know, the dragon in The Hobbit, you know, is on that castle with all that gold. It's just like the Dodgers. This has been a great series to watch. It's been fun. I mean, the beanball thing was kind of inside baseball things going on there. The chirping from Shilton and Dave Roberts has been great. Pages is turning into a new Padre villain, you know, because it used to always be that it was Chris Taylor and Justin Turner that would kill the Padres. Now this Andy Pages guy is hitting bombs. He's like throwing guys out of home plate, you know, and he's got this kind of sneer on his face all the time. And the dude bats like 7th or 8th in the lineup, and that becomes our new arch enemy. So everything about this is like big brother, little brother. Okay. And then even the scrappy Padres, they fought back in the 9th, and Xander Bogaerts, oh my God, hit a double into the gap in the top of the 9th, and the Padres tied the score. Probably should have taken the lead if Brandon Lockridge would have gone all the way around. But then Will Smith, you know, Bobby fastballs and Will Smith, the ball, it looked like Tatis just barely missed that too. So it's a fun series. I mean, as a Padre fan, I'd love to see them win this final game, you know, salvage the road trip. But right now they won 1 out of 6 on this road trip. It might be 1 out of 7. It might be a sweep. You may be right.
Damn, I am right. Next topic on the table, because we're marching through June. We're going to get to July. We've had one blockbuster trade already, and I think there's more coming. Let's just talk about other deals out there. Fire sale? Maybe. Angels. This is a really interesting story. You need to explain to me, John, how the last place Angels, coming off a 99-loss season, how do the Angels win 3 in a row at Dodger Stadium? And how do the Angels win 3 in a row at Yankee Stadium? And how do the Angels scare the hell out of the Padres when the Padres were playing pretty decent a month ago? I mean, to me, it's absolutely stunning what Angel baseball is doing right now with a hodgepodge roster of kids and some one-year run. I mean, that's really intriguing. Now, rumor mill. Angels got a left fielder. Taylor Ward's got 19 home runs this season. Not hitting for a huge average, but 19 home runs. He's available on a trade block. He's got a one-year deal left. Joe Adell, who's got 19 home runs, doesn't hit for average, plays pretty good outfield. He might be available. Might one of these guys be a guy the Padres want to talk to the Angels about? Maybe even a rental of Kyle Hendricks, who's bounced back after a tough start and has pitched a lot better. Now, Padres, they need a pitcher. That's a rental. They could use an outfielder. Geez, Taylor Ward be any better than any of the 7-member committee they've got in left field right now. So we'll see where that goes. So that's an Angel story, but it's stunning to me. They could beat the Dodgers 3 straight, beat the Yankees this week 3 straight at New York, and then having scared the hell out of the Padres. Just really amazing. The other baseball story is in Tampa. This has come out of nowhere. Stuart Sternberg is given up. The owner of the Tampa Bay Rays, and they've been a really well-run organization, low-budget organization, a lot of problems with Tropicana Field, the Hurricanes and all that. Stuart Sternberg has just signed a deal to sell the team. Going to sell it for $1.6 billion to a Jacksonville consortium of people who come out of the sports world. Now, the burning question, will the Jacksonville people come into Tampa, because they still owe 2 more years on the lease at Tropicana Field? Will they finish out that lease there? And in that 2-year window with new ownership and money, go back to the negotiating table, reopen talks to build a new stadium right next to Tropicana Field that they had talked about with Sternberg, but he canceled out of the deal? Or is there a risk this thing might go to Jacksonville? Might they come up with the resources, the land, to build a new home for the Rays in Jacksonville, which is not real close to the Suncoast? So that's a really intriguing story. But now they got an owner that seems committed. New owner coming in the door. Will he commit to make this thing better in Tampa, spend more money in Tampa, and go a step forward with Tampa St. Petersburg and actually get that stadium built. Interesting story there. So, John, Angels, Tampa Bay, your opinion?
Well, for Tampa, I mean, you're right. The owner's tried like hell to get a stadium there. He's been cursed by the hurricanes that ripped the roof off of the place. But I'm not 100% convinced that Florida baseball fans want to go to the ballpark. You know, the bunch of retired folks, they watch it on TV. They don't go to the Marlins games. They go to the Rays games. So maybe that owner might, what about moving it to Nashville or some other expansion city?
Well, it could be, but he's got Jacksonville roots. Jacksonville's a big city, but Jacksonville is...
That's a smaller market than Tampa, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I don't see that working. But it's first of all, there's been on Padre Twitter for the last year, there have been certain people that have been just, you know, begging to get Taylor Ward from the Angels to come to the Padres. Left fielder, hits for power, could be great. I'm just saying, you can't have Taylor Ward and Tyler Wade on the same team. It just gets too confusing. And they both would play left field. Well, actually, Tyler Wade probably wouldn't be playing left field. That would be a great target. It seems like a natural, you know, the two teams, Angels, Padres, line up. Angels ain't going anywhere, even though they've had some recent success. I mean, if I were the Padres, I'd definitely give them a call. There's still a lot of really good players in the farm system for the Padres. And we know the big two at the top in Salas and DeVries, but there's a lot of really good young pitching that's at Fort Wayne. And, you know, maybe there's a way that AJ can make it work with the Angels.
Oh, he's got a history of making trades. The reality is he better do something because what they have right now does not seem to be able to stay in a pennant race. This is not good baseball. It's beat up baseball, injured baseball more than anything else. Okay. That's all things baseball. We get to halftime. This podcast is brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they've got materials. You need ideas, they can be your consultant and your best friend. John, I want you to tell everybody who might be thinking about doing renovations in home. New kitchen, new bathroom, cabinets, bookcases, whatever.
Bookcases.
Windows, doors,
Why do you always
etc.
talk about bookcases?
No, that's the shortcoming in my house. Anyhow, nonetheless, tell everybody about the Solana Beach office that Dixieline has where people can actually go see the dynamics of what Dixieline has to offer.
Now, you were always intrigued by this place in Solana Beach, and it's called the Design Studio. And, you know, so they're at Loma Santa Fe and Highway 5, right at that intersection. There's a big shopping center in the southwest corner, and Dixieline obviously has a big presence. Their home center is there. They got a lumber yard there, and there's, you know, it's a really nice customer base there in Solana Beach. They're always upgrading their homes. But kitty corner from the store, from the home center, in that shopping strip is the Design Studio, and that's where you find that some of Dixieline's best designers that have the most experience doing kitchen remodels, bath remodels, that come in and put in these custom doors in your house. I'll put up some videos, some of the doors, and you'll see some of these are going to be demoed in the design center, where this is where you're going to see really nice, really high-end, kind of caters to that upper crust. That's why it's out there in Solana Beach, you know. So if you really are intrigued by a lot of the higher end sort of boutique offerings for your home, this is where you can go to the Design Studio in Solana Beach, and the Dixieline folks will knock it off.
And we invite you also to go to the website, dixieline.com. Just see all the things that they're about. Dixieline Lumber, 9 locations in San Diego to serve you, as well as the big display unit there in Solana Beach. We are at halftime, our Thursday podcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers. Couple of reminders. If you like sports, I want you to check my website. I write on it every day of the week, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. Also, join me on social media. Just punch in Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, hit the follow button, or Hacksaw 1090, hit the follow button. Want you to share. Tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Want you to subscribe. When you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you will get alerts every time we put new video up, and we do put a lot of video up there during the course of the week. We cover it all in the world of sports. You ready for the second half?
I am. Yeah. The fans forum people, they're fired up. They're like, hey man, we need to talk about sports, not this ice raid stuff. And then we're getting people talking about the rivalry. And is it really a rivalry? Dodgers, Padres? No, it's really the Giants, Dodgers. Fans forum is going to be great.
Fans forum Chat box open for business. Pick a topic. Pick on one of us. Pick a stance you want to take, an opinion. Fans Forum chat box is open. That's coming up when we're done doing topics on the table. Let's go to the NFL.
NFL notebook bouncing around the league. Here we go.
Your guy, Shedeur Sanders. Your guy. Now we find out today, not only was he arrested for doing 101 miles an hour just after midnight on Tuesday in Cleveland, he had been arrested a couple days prior to that on another speeding charge and was wanted for being a no-show in court. I guess the rules are very different for Shedeur Sanders than they are for anybody else in society. Anyhow, now he's got 2 traffic citations, but he's doing 101 in a 60 zone on Interstate 71 just outside Cleveland in the community Strongsville. I lived in Strongsville. My condominium, I could look right on Interstate 71, so if I'd been standing on my balcony at 12:42 in the morning, I probably would have seen Shedeur go by at 101 miles an hour. What are you doing? What are you doing? So Shedeur Sanders got problems off the court. Now we found out this morning that's the second speeding violation in a span of a couple of days. Dude needs to be more mature, handle his business off the field better. LA Rams, they tried really hard to make a deal to get Pro Bowl cornerback Jalen Ramsey. The deal's hit a stone wall. The problem, he's got $48 million left in the final 2 years of his contract in Miami, and the Rams are willing to trade a draft pick to get Ramsey, who's 31 years of age, get him for the final 2 years, but they're not willing to take on the contract. They want Miami to pay a chunk of the contract or Ramsey to agree to take a pay cut to make the trade go through. The thing has kind of hit a stone wall. Baltimore, pretty good acquisition. Can they keep this guy on the field? His name is GILGEOUS-ALEXANDER. Pro Bowl cornerback, Green Bay. He's had injuries 3 straight years. Packers decided to cut him loose. Couldn't keep him on the field, didn't want to pay him anymore, so he was let go. He signed a 1-year discounted deal to go to the Baltimore Ravens. You look at the depth chart, Baltimore's secondary is unbelievable. Led by Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton. This might be the best secondary in the NFL. Now they get Alexander, but Alexander has to prove he can stay on the field totally healthy. And Houston, they believe in second chances. This guy once upon a time was a really good football player at Ohio State. He got to Las Vegas and he got in trouble. Last time we saw him was a picture on the internet of Damon Arnett with guns and weapons threatening to shoot somebody in a parking lot. He was out of football. He was in prison. He's been released from prison. Houston's going to give him a second chance. This is a really good talent, but this guy's priorities are way off the track. Typical John Bleepin Gruden draft pick. What did he leave a mess behind there when they finally got rid of him? But that's what's going on in the NFL. I told Shedeur not to have the Lamborghini come from Boulder, Colorado to Cleveland. Now dude's doing 101 down the highway. Amazing.
Yeah, Coach Prime needs to have a talk with him. Nothing good happens after midnight. We already know that, because we've got gray hair. We've been through that. At least I have. But at any rate, I want to talk about the Ramsey thing with the Rams. He was on the Rams like a few years ago.
Left as a free agent.
Oh, okay. That's what I was wondering, as I thought maybe did they trade him away and now they want him back, but he left as a free agent. So, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So they're going to have to figure out a way from a salary cap standpoint, because Miami, they don't want him. It's a mutual agreement. You can leave, but he's owed $24 million this and next. Rams don't want to take on $48 million. They've kind of looking at Miami saying, hey, here's your problem. Solve your problem by paying a piece of the $24 million, and then we'll make a trade for a draft pick. Has not happened yet.
It seems in every sport, you have a contract almost all the time. The old team has to pay part of the freight. Yep. I think this Ralph Devers one might be one of the exceptions.
Yep. Well, he's not an old player, but obviously he's got a track record of issues and attitude.
Yeah.
No doubt he's a great player.
Oh,
okay. That's all things National Football League. One college football note here.
Yeah, Sac State kind of getting pushed around by the NCAA.
They applied. Sacramento State, they hired Mike Bibby to become the coach of the basketball program, and they're making a huge push. Public donors, alumni, new president who's pro sports, making a huge push. They want to go Division I, or have been in 1AA. They just informed the Big Sky Conference, which is a really good 1AA conference, that we're opting out. They are taking their programs to the Big West, which is that's a nice basketball conference, etc. UCSD's in it, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
They applied for an NCAA waiver. The rule is you want to go from Division I AA to Division I. There's a 4-year probation period, which is kind of weird. Sacramento State's new president met with the NCAA and said, we want you to waive that. We are ready with the finances. We're going to build a football stadium. We've hired Mike Bibby. We're going to grow this thing in Northern California. NCAA rejected them. So what's happened is Sac State has said, okay, we're going to go Big West, which is Division I, take all our sports there, and we're going to try to play football as an independent, as a Division I AA independent, which to me is weird because there's nobody in the world that's a 1AA independent. So now that's where Sacramento State is. I would assume if this growth project actually makes a lot of sense and it works, they're going to probably wind up in the Mountain West Conference. But right now it's a weird concoction because the NCAA said, no, we're not changing the waiver rule for you guys. We don't change it for everybody else. Why would it do it for you? That's where we are.
I like how Sac State's being aggressive about this. I think it's cool. And wherever they land, they're going to land. But it is a bunch of BS, this 4-year probation, because UCSD went through that. UCSD used to be D3, then D2. And then when they went to D1, the first 4 years, they couldn't participate in their conference tournament. Yep. They were ineligible for NCAA or any other postseason tournaments. Their record didn't count in the standings. You just see a team name with zeros next to it. I mean, it seems like it's a way that the big boys that are D1 can punish, the little guys that are trying to climb their way up. It doesn't seem like it's fair.
The NCAA standard is we don't want schools jumping division by division just because they think they're going to have a good team. We can't allow that. In other words, we can't have a 1AA football program that might have different academic standards, all of a sudden get all these Division I bounce-back football players and announce we're going to go Division I immediately. And then 2 years later, when the players are gone and they're losing again, want to step back.
But that's not what's happening here.
Yeah. Well, we don't know that.
Well, because Sac State is making a huge investment. Mm-hmm. This is not a one-year wonder thing. And the same thing with UC San Diego. That was a long-term commitment. So they need to revise this rule. I think it's very unfair.
It's kind of archaic, but there's an awful lot of stuff around the NCAA. It's rather archaic.
Yeah. They're stuck in the old times.
Okay, all things there. We go from that. Hockey Hotline is open.
Yeah, this is going to be great. The Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup.
The O Canada network will probably be going crazy. Florida eliminates the Edmonton Oilers in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. And you look at the Panthers, and this is the most intriguing thing to me, how they were built. John, flash that board up there if you have it. They won the Stanley Cup Finals with only 3 of their own players, 3 draft picks. All their stars came from somewhere else. What a credit to their general manager, Bill Zito. They've been in the Stanley Cup Finals 3 years in a row. They've now raised the cup 2 years in a row, back-to-back victories. And if you look at all those players, those were all the marquee guys that helped them get the cup this time. And they all came from other places. The legendary Brad Marchand came from Boston. Seth Jones came from the Blackhawks at the trade deadline. Bobrovsky, the goaltender, started his career with the Flyers, and they haven't had a good goaltender since. We all know about the history of Matthew Tkachuk. He was a Calgary Flame. Reinhardt, Carter Verhaeghe came from Toronto. FORSLAND came from another team. Sam Bennett came from another team. You talk about roster building. What a job Bill Zito has done, and obviously a really, really good head coach. But that's fascinating. Now, they got a lot of age. It's a much older hockey team. Some of these guys are going to be free agents. There are rumors already that Toronto wants to make a run at Brad Marchand. Would he exit after half a year? But there's a culture there in Florida of all for one, one for all. It's just really, really impressive. But look at that. All these guys, every one of their stars came in transactions that general manager made. It's an amazing way to build a roster, and it worked.
Yeah, usually that doesn't work,
Exactly.
When you assemble these all-star teams. But I'll tell you what, the Panthers, they were dominant through this whole series. Edmonton, we were kind of rooting for the Oilers, but they were really overmatched.
Edmonton's got some long, hard thinking to do. this summer. I hate to say it. It really feels like they're wasting the careers of 97 and 29, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah.
And that's why this rumor that I just dug up about the Edmonton Oilers makes a hell of a lot of sense.
Yeah, here we go, talking to the Ducks.
I just don't think the Oilers can go forward with this goaltender, Stuart Skinner. And what makes this so emotionally hard, John, he's a kid from Edmonton who's made it with the home team. He grew up as a kid watching Gretzky and Messier and Grant Fuhr. He's from Edmonton, but he just went 7-7 in the playoffs. He got benched 4 times in the playoffs. His goals against average was 3.00 in the playoffs, which is not strong. His save percentage was .886, which is really poor. And it's the 3rd straight year that Edmonton's been there and hasn't gotten it done. And in part and parcel, because Skinner's been so erratic and so shaky in goal. Connect the dots. They need to go find another goaltender. That goaltender might be in Anaheim. That goaltender might be John Gibson. John's had a really good career over a 9-year run, had some injury problems of late. Ducks went through a very painful, terrible rebuild. He's the last one standing from the original Ducks Stanley Cup team. John Gibson's available because ex-San Diego Gold young goaltender Lucas Dostal has really evolved. The Swedish player has really evolved into a stand-up young goaltender. Gibson's got 2 years left on his deal. Gibson could be what Edmonton needs, is that last piece of veteran experience. And this guy's played a ton of games, Stanley Cups, etc. I think there might be something there. Got a steep contract, 2 years, 6.5 per season. But John Gibson might solve what's be the missing link there in Edmonton. So keep an eye on that as we go forward.
You've been talking about this potential trade. You've talked about it before. Was it last year?
Yeah, he's been on trade block for a year and a half, but he had injuries a year and a half ago.
But I think you were always thinking that Edmonton was the perfect place for him to go.
I think so. Then I obviously think so now. But you imagine how emotionally hard that is if you're going to give up on Stuart Skinner. Hometown boy makes good.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
So that's where we are, all things NHL. You're a hockey fan. You want to talk about the Stanley Cup? You can be in grudge mode about Florida, but how impressive is what they did, connecting all these dots, all these players to buy into everything that they've gotten done. Last topic on the table. Corner kick me this one, John.
Club World Cup, a disaster.
Oh, this is unbelievable. So they're bringing together all these teams for a month-long Club World Cup competition. Smack at the end of the European Champions League play and all the other mega tournaments. This was kind of forced down the mouths of the players and the teams. There's a lot of money available here for the champion if they win it. Here's a prime example. Champions League star Paris Saint-Germain of France. They just won the Champions League, which is the epitome of all European soccer. Their players had 15 days off. They had to get on a plane and come 6,000 miles out here to play in this thing in a month-long tournament. Paris Saint-Germain's players have played 58 games this year. 58. Manchester City, the English Premier League legend, they played 57. There's no recovery time from injuries for players because you got to continue to train. There's hardly any days off. And everybody, the players are really upset. The agents are really upset. The quality of play is really hard. And so FIFA, which is always about the money, is the one that created this idea. FIFA is the one that expanded the Champions League in Europe. Now they created the Club World Cup. They're expanding next year's World Cup to more teams. These players have no time to rest, no time to get healthy because they're in constant training mode. And when these guys get done with this, most of these guys will have only 18 days off because the English Premier League, Italian Serie A, the French League, they start their training camps 15 days after the Club World Cup is over. I mean, this is an absolute money grab more than is anything. And the fans don't like it. Do you know they had 3,700 for a game in Orlando? 3,700. They had 3 games of under 10,000 played in mammoth NFL stadiums last weekend. It's just huge problem. And the president of the French league, La Liga, just announced he will lead a drive against FIFA to have this thing folded at the end of this year, saying there's no room on the schedule. You've expanded all these other tournaments because it's a money grab, saying you're draining the TV contracts because there's no way to get more soccer on the pitch and get new TV contracts to put more money in the pot. And there's a lot of money in the pot. That's the big issue, is that whoever wins this thing is going to wind up with, I want to say, $93 million total prize money. Whoever wins the Club World Cup. But I think it's turned out to be a financial boondoggle, and it's been grossly unfair to the players. And American fans, with rare exception, aren't going to see all these games. Just an absolute fiasco.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking that soccer is sort of a once-a-week sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you figure there's 52 weeks in a year, and they're playing 58, so how does that all fit? I'm starting to think, I'm brainstorming, I'm thinking, what if these teams, I mean, you can't expect your superstars to be playing every single week of the whole year and never having time off.
You play a league game on Saturday or Sunday, but they also play, there's a midweek game that they play. They might be friendlies.
Yeah.
They might be in a different type of tournament. There might be a qualifier for something else. We spent all last week screeching about what's happened with Christian Pulisic and diffused a lot of criticism directed at him. This is a prime example. Players need to unionize. That's what the hell the players
Okay, here
play.
we go.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. We're going to bring in the union guys. But
well, we're talking about ice runs.
I know. Too. Yeah, here we are. Your SEIU, you're going to be leading the charge. Now, I'm wondering though, if these teams, like for example, a Club World Cup team like Paris Saint-Germain, well, when they come to America and play in this tournament, is it reasonable for American fans to expect that their top stars are going to be playing in the United States? And because even if they were, like you say, the crowd is not that much. I mean, it's only a few thousand.
Yeah, the Club World Cup games, the stars are supposed to be there, but nobody's going to see some of these games.
But I think that's the thing, is I think we have to reset expectations. And maybe there's like an A team, a B team, and a C team for every one of these clubs. And that sometimes, we're going to let the A team have a month off, and the B team is what's going to go represent us in the Club World Cup.
Yeah, but is John Q. soccer fan in San Diego going to go want to see Paris Saint-Germain's B team without its stars?
Well, but if the A players for another team are going to be there, maybe so. And besides, this gives a lot of the young guys, the opportunity to get out there and play. So I think we as fans have to adjust our perception. We can't expect to see, Messi every, 100 times a year. I mean, that just doesn't make sense. So I don't shame FIFA for the so-called money grab. I mean, if there's money on the table, go get it. Go grab it. Nothing wrong with that. You're going to pay the players, you're going to fund the league. But I think you just need to structure it a little differently. And maybe a union helps. I mean, if they can find out a way to make this win for all parties.
I don't know how the schedule is so jammed. And now they start the Club World Cup on top of the expansion of the regular World Cup next year. More teams, more games.
That's good. On
top of the expansion of the Champions League that they just got completed. I mean, there's just games all the time, and there's no recovery time for the players.
No. I mean, it's incredible. That's why I've always said the soccer schedule is weird.
Yep.
It's not like, well, it's weird for us as an American, right? Because there's all these different leagues, and they all have their different schedules. There's all these different championship formats and tournaments, and some are friendly and some don't count, and some do count. And all the mid-tier tournaments, the CONCACAF and the Gold Cup and Nations Cup and all these different things.
That's right.
You almost need like a whiteboard to kind of sketch it all out.
Soccer fan, you got an opinion? Help us solve this thing. Fans Forum chat box is open. This podcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they've got materials. You want ideas, they can be your best friend. Dixieline Lumber. It is time for Fans Forum. We're going to try to roar through as much as we can. You pick any topic you want. I'm sure you're going to pick on one of us for something one of us said. That's okay. That's why we're here, because we do sports talk the way it should be done. John, Go ahead and start. Where do you want to go?
Okay, well, we're going to start with Matt because he throws us a couple of bucks. Thanks, Matt. Hey, could you see the Yankees sold in the next 10 years? Or even Jerry Jones' kids and grandkids looking at the Lakers, wondering how much they could get?
Steinbrenners have not shown any interest in selling. Corporate involvement is increasing. Anything is possible in terms of somebody coming in and buying minority control with an option that if Steinbrenner or Jerry Jones wants to sell. But for the most part, these families are making so much money off their franchises. I can't see them giving these franchises up because they like these franchises and the way they operate. Does that make sense?
It does. I just think as a family asset, they want to pass that down. But at some point, people need money and they see money on the table. They're going to want to find a way to sell it and liquidate. That's what the Spanoses have been trying to do, right?
Yeah, they've chiseled away minority ownership, etc. The O'Malley family, the legendary O'Malley family, Brooklyn Dodgers to Los Angeles Dodgers, came to the reality that this had become big business and a family-run operation could not fund the big business that Major League Baseball was becoming. And that's why they stepped aside, which was a real stunner, and they sold to the Frank McCourt scam artist who took them into bankruptcy, which then led to Walter and the Guggenheim Group eventually taking the Dodgers out of bankruptcy. But the O'Malley family is a prime example of how everything has drastically changed in terms of ownership in pro sports. They just felt they could not go farther as the prices went up and up, despite all the revenue streams. But when the O'Malleys got out, the revenue streams are not as great as they are right now.
Well, I mean, just think about how much more complicated it is, because you got streaming media and TV networks that are sometimes part of the team. Mm-hmm. You've got all the minor leagues and everything that those represent. Plus, you've got all the business interests where they have the land and the facilities to do condos and entertainment, that's right there outside the stadium. I mean, this is a big business.
Just not baseball.
It's not just baseball. Yeah.
Well done. Okay, we move on. Thanks, Matt.
Okay, let's go here to Steve. And he goes, are you shocked the Oilers didn't show up in Game 6? Skinner started the net again. McDavid didn't show up, and the Panthers just dominated Edmonton easily.
Florida Panthers just checked them out into the ice. They just never let them really skate. There were fragments of an odd period. The first period of Game 6, Edmonton really dominated, had scoring chances, couldn't put it in the net. And at that point, it just kind of all went away. And then at the other end, here came all those crazy bouncing pucks and guys scoring on 2-on-1 breaks and guys scoring off weird deflections and poke checks going into the net and pucks hitting skates. But Florida, man-to-man, just wave after forecheckers. They never let Edmonton get into any long stretches where they could dominate on the ice and kind of change the momentum. So Florida's really well constructed, and Skinner gave up, I thought, too many shaky goals, soft goals, bad goals along the way. And that's the way it ended the way it did.
When I was watching it on TV, didn't it feel like the ice sort of tilted? Because there was so much action there in front of the Edmonton goal.
Yep.
It was like they were on the other side of the ice for over half the time.
Yeah. And Edmonton, I mean, they're in other series leading up to the finals, their second, third, and fourth lines played well. They're paying Evander Kane a hell of a lot of money. Where was he in this Florida series aside from taking penalties? He was not there. Adam Henrique, former Duck center, he can score goals. Where was he in the course of these playoffs? They had some injuries. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins got hurt. They just confirmed today he broke his hand. He tried to play the last two games, and he's part of that power play unit with Connor McDavid and Draisaitl. But there were some other guys who getting paid a lot of money that didn't have real good final series against Florida. So they just need to rethink. But I think it's got to start. They got to fix the goaltending, because veteran goaltender making save can ignite a whole bunch of things. And Skinner was so scary and so hot and cold. And he's a young guy. It's going to be a tough decision for Edmonton to do this, if to go a different direction.
You ready for some inbound fire?
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. I have a bunker buster here for you. This is from Mr. Smith. He goes, you're fully bought into the entire political crap. This is not about Hispanics, as you're calling it. You're wrong, not right.
I totally disagree with you, because this is a mass roundup of anybody Hispanic. And then they're hauling them out of here with no right for legal representation, making these decisions. You can hide behind the shield. We're getting rid of the criminal element, but you can't bring 20 people in and say, well, you were all together, so you must all be guilty. You must all have criminal records, when it's obvious they don't. and then to try to have these people individually with legal help, legal aid, get them out of the situation that ICE dragged them in. You can subscribe to everything you want, but this sure looks like Gestapo 1936 against the Jews to me. And I'm entitled under the First Amendment on my podcast to tell you what I think. And if you disagree when you start your podcast, you can invite me on and we will debate it. I don't know. You tell me, John. You're an interested observer. What do you think about this mass roundups? Because they're not all criminals, are they?
Well, this is the thing, is that when some people say, well, we want to go after the criminals, but not the good people that are just working for a living, supporting their family. But some people say they're all criminals because they're illegal, you know? And so we get this debate of who really is the criminal. First of all, I love the idea that you've got your own platform and you're going to say your piece, and this is all part, it crosses into the world of sports. But yeah, it does have, you know, this whole idea of scapegoating a certain segment of society and then trying to oust them. I mean, that doesn't represent America, in my opinion.
Well, I told you about my neighbor. I was really shocked because he said, if my last name ends with Z, I'm fearful because they're just taking every Hispanic in a group. So that means Ramirez, Gonzalez,
well, it's just,
Hernandez.
It's like, you know, show me your papers. You know, it does have that 1930s, you know,
Feel
kind of a
to
vibe. Yeah, it does.
I don't have a solution, but I can tell you I have a reaction to what I'm seeing. You tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong.
Okay.
We move on.
Well, let's move on to something a little more lighthearted. We'll go here back to Matt, who gave us some more money. Thank you, Matt. Hey, do you think Tatis will end up in the Hall of Fame?
That's way down the road. How about just Tatis hitting 315 and helping get this team into the World Series? There's no doubt he's a very, very good player, but he's also had injury problems. And, you know, this stretch where he's at 188 for more than a month. I said, wow, how does that happen? But I tend to think he was hurt. You know, is he going to be a Hall of Famer? Machado's going to be a Hall of Famer before Tatis is going to be a Hall of Famer. We'll just see what El Nino's full career looks like when we get to the 10-year mark or the 12-year mark and how good a player he is and if he can stay healthy and not have any more setbacks off the field.
You know, we've seen him at his best, and it is mind-blowing how good he is.
MVP type.
Not just MVP, but like, you know, in the top 5 of all time.
The complete package.
If he really were able to fully maximize his potential. And obviously he's going through a thing right now. And he's not hitting well. And you said it might have been when he got hit in the arm. And his statistics since that event have been like a night and day.
Yeah, he had 8 base hits last weekend, but then he comes back in Dodger Stadium and he's not turning it upside down.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, I'm rooting for the kid, but he's just not, he's not feeling it right now.
Guys, Hall of Famers, MVP guys, they don't hit 188 for 6 weeks.
No, not at all.
So there's something not right with El Nino. There's a lot more problems though than just Fernando Tatis right now with the Padres.
Yeah, the black hole in left field, the catchers can't hit. Xander Bogaerts is a mystery, and the pitching staff is all injured. So yeah, they got problems. Okay, let's go. Let's keep moving here. This is interesting. The University Galaxy, I think it's his first time here posting. He goes, hey, can I join your panel? I'd like to bring up the topic of Michael Jordan fans being the worst sports fans of all time. It's not boring, and I've tested this topic many times on my page.
Yeah, but when you have a star and he's a superstar and maybe the greatest modern day guy of all time, fans have a right to cheer that and obsess over the greatness of that player. There's nothing wrong with Michael Jordan fans. I mean, they're probably the equal of Oklahoma City Thunder SGA fans right now. They were.
It's different.
Is it?
I mean, Michael Jordan is like a demigod. You know, he has supernatural abilities. I saw this interview online recently of Bob Knight. You know, when he was at Indiana and MJ was at North Carolina, saying this kid is going to be one of the best ball players of all time. And this is when he was still playing college ball, because I think he coached him was at the '84 Olympics.
Yes.
It might have been. And so, you know, this kid has athleticism. He plays fantastic defense. His basketball IQ is off the chart. He's fiercely competitive. You know, this guy has every ingredient to be the greatest of all time. And yeah, so he is like, you know, like a Greek god. And so the fans of him are very loyal. It's almost like Kobe fans.
Is it different MJ versus LeBron? Because LeBron moved all over the place and was always seeking out his next big contract.
No. I don't think LeBron gets hate for a lot of reasons. The bouncing around part of it is only a small part of the problem. People still get angry about taking his talents to South Beach and that whole like
money grab.
Well, again, it's not a money. He deserved the money,
sure.
But he turned it into a spectacle about how he made it an ESPN event when he made his decision. But LeBron whines. LeBron wants special favors for his son. LeBron doesn't like to get hit, doesn't like to get banged around, and LeBron always seems to kind of let Laker fan down. Even though he puts up all these monster numbers, they just don't get it done. And so, LeBron has some lovers that see him as a god as well, but he's got a lot more haters than MJ had. I don't think MJ has a hater.
Okay. Interesting observation. University, hope to join us again. Thank you.
Okay, let's go here to Lenny. He goes, hey, time for the Padres to be sellers. Get some good young players for next year. Love the Padres since their minor league days at Westgate Park. Yeah, I'm old, 68.
The question is, who have they got to deal that anybody wants? Nobody wants Xander's contract. Cronenworth has gotten limitations, and he's still got a lot of time left on his contract. Can you move Cease? Yeah, probably. Half-year rental. He's going to be a free agent. Can't move Michael King right now. They don't know whether he's going to pitch again the rest of the season. So who do the Padres really have that's marketable? I mean, nobody in left field. You're not going to trade Jackson Merrill. Machado will finish his career here, rightfully so. Arise is a walk free agent. You might be able to get something of significance for him, but you're going to tear this thing down? Because there's no talent at El Paso, and whatever is at AA San Antonio, that's AA. That's really a ways away. So are you proposing let's rip this thing apart right now and get into losing mode for a couple of 3 years? I can't see that being a mode of operation for AJ Preller. And I spin back to the top of this statement. Who have they got that they could really trade and get resources for?
Every one of the players that other teams would want is pretty much locked into a long-term deal. I mean, Jackson Merrill will be some team. Everyone would love to have him, but he's already in that long-term deal now, right?
Well, why would you trade Jackson Merrill?
Well, then why would you trade him? Yeah, exactly. So I don't know how AJ could, let's just think out of the box here, how he could trade a Jackson Merrill and maybe get 3 or 4 really good guys in return. I just don't see that happening. And so the only way I think is you either have to walk away from DeVries or Salas. And I think Salas might be the one that you might have to deal. But there's, like I said, there's a few pitchers that I've seen highlights of the tin caps here in Fort Wayne that have done well, but like they're 4 or 5 years away.
That's Class A.
Yeah.
Now, you could move of the guys atop, Arise. But then people are going to pick up the phone and say, well, you're offering me Arise, but he's already been traded 3 times. So there's got to be a glitch in Arise. Well, end of the day, he's a great slap hitter, $14 million a year, but that's all he does is hit singles. And he's okay as a defender at first base, but does he really change my team? He hasn't changed the Padres, has he?
When he's going good, there's kind of a good vibe, the kind of the pass the baton kind of a vibe. But yeah, you're right. I mean, even if they try to trade Arise, it's a rental for a few months, the remaining of this season, because he's going to be a free agent. Padres aren't going to get much in return for him. So I don't see any way you can do a fire sale unless you just make a horrible decision to eat all those contracts. And that would just set the Padres way back. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I concur. I would much rather have AJ, and he's doing this. He's talking to everybody. You go make a deal. If you can make a deal with the Angels and you can get Taylor Ward or Joe Adell, that's better than anything you got in this committee in left field right now, even if it's just a half-year rental. Or go get McCutchen and take his veteran experience, leadership, clubhouse thing. Just let him play left field. I know he wants to go back and retire as a Pirate. That's fine. He can do that next year. He's going to that's the only way I think that he fills a hole is to find the right rental guy and put him in there.
And he's going to have to pay that guy. And again, because if you take Andrew McCutchen, you're going to take on his contract.
Yeah, but his contract is like $5.1 million, and it ends at the end of this year because he signed a 1-year deal in Pittsburgh. And Ward's only got one more year to go on his contract, and he becomes a free agent.
Well, I'll tell you what, when this, at the beginning of the year, we were so damn high on this team, you know, and they were 14-3 and they were conquering the world and everyone was performing.
But then Darvish went down and now King went down
and Jackson Merrill is out and Fernando suddenly wasn't productive.
Yep.
I mean, if these guys just can fix their own internal problems, this still could be a very good team. I mean, if Tatis returns to what he was, if Cronenworth just takes it up a couple of notches, if Xander can hit like he did in the 9th inning in last night's game and hit doubles into the gap, this team's a lot different. But right now, there's only it's Manny Machado against the world.
I concur. Okay, we'll see where it goes. Trade deadline comes up on July 31st, and we've had one blockbuster deal already, and there'll probably be a few more before we get to that point. Moving on. Let's
go here to Daniel, and he says, without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA would be irrelevant.
Well, they were irrelevant. Nice place to play, and everybody was making about the same amount of money. And now they got TV ratings, and now they're traveling first class. It's a much better set of circumstances because of Caitlin Clark. So I'm not saying the league has to protect her. The league just needs to be fair when she's getting butchered to make sure you're taking strong discipline measures against the people. I mean, the hits that she took in that game against the Connecticut Sun, they were way over the line, and the league doesn't suspend anybody. You got to send a message. We're not going to allow this to happen. And we're not giving her special treatment. We're not going to allow it to happen to anybody. Now, it was really bad, and it's been going on all year.
That video of her getting smacked around, it was like a bumper car hitting 3 cars in less than 3 seconds. She went hit in the mouth, pushed, and then knocked to the ground. It was like bump, bump, bump. And I'm like, man, this.
And 2 of them are really intentional.
Well, clearly, and it's dumb. Unless there's some cooked up scheme behind the scenes to create false drama, to create PR for the league. But if this is, I take it at face value, it's stupid what these women are doing to Caitlin Clark. Play her tough, get on the court, but all this other BS, it's just petty. It looks like they're jealous of her. And this woman is like saving your league. You should be embracing her, just the way the NBA, respected Magic Johnson and Larry Bird for saving the league.
Concur. All right, we'll move on.
Okay, let's keep going. We'll go here to Richard. Fans Forum. He goes, sports is the last American sanctuary. Political issues have divided us. The Padres' bitterness and emotions towards LA is their downfall and always will be. Manny is such a drama queen.
Boy, they don't like Manny at Dodger Stadium.
No,
holy cow. That's okay. He goes with the flow and he plays his game, etc. It's cool what the rivalry has become. It is really intense, which is really cool. They had 53,000 for every game against the Padres this week. And of course, down here, every one of these games was packed at Petco Park, aka Gallagher Park. They were drawing 43,000, 45,000. That is really cool. But at the end of the day, it sure does seem that Padre baseball is here and Dodger baseball remains up here. Have there been little spurts of time where the Padres have played well? Hell yes. But look at the end result. What just happened in this series? Dodgers have beaten them, 5 of 6 so far this season. What happened, obviously, at postseason playoffs, 24 straight shutout innings. So, this last fall. So it's pretty good rivalry. It's kind of neat. And I don't have a problem with the yapping. I don't have a problem with finger pointing or the guys jamming guys. I don't want to see them throw at people's heads. But so, yeah, I thought it was pretty electric baseball we've seen.
Well, it's great entertainment, and obviously these teams have had their moments, in the national spotlight, with Tatis dancing like a peacock and
Jerks and Profar jumping up and down.
Yeah, the Profar jumping around. All so there's been so many moments, especially over the last 5 years. The Jake Cronenworth hitting off of what was that guy's name, Veras?
Yeah,
and hitting the line drive to center to bring in this tying run in that big game in the rain. Great moments. But, this is representative of something much bigger than these two teams, because San Diego, I don't know if people across America fully understand the magnitude of this, but San Diego is like sort of an afterthought, to a lot of people in Southern California.
Inferiority complex?
Yes, that does exist. And so, for example, if you get a band, like a really big band, I don't know, Bruce Springsteen or U2 or something that's doing a world tour, they won't play San Diego. They'll just say, we'll just play LA, and then they figure they've covered. And you're like, damn it, San Diego is getting screwed, And we have the small market. We lost our football team. We've had multiple NBA teams, one of which went to LA. Our Chargers went to LA, and we're like, freaking LA, and I think that's why San Diego likes to be different than LA. And I think that's why Camp Pendleton is going to remain a buffer zone for as long as possible, just to keep these sides separated. It's like a DMZ.
Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for my friend next to me, the co-host. He's got an inferiority complex about living in San Diego.
You know what? San Diego's a good place to be, baby.
Right.
It's America's finest city.
We move on.
Okay, let's go to Johnny. He goes, Snell and Glasnow coming back. The West had their chance. The Dodgers getting ready to run away.
Well, we don't know about Snell and Glasnow, but the most fascinating thing to me is look at what transpired in the series. Padre fans, you should be really upset. You lost 2 games on 2 Dodger bullpen days. 2. And then you lost the 3rd game in the series to Justin Wroblewski. Who?
Yeah, exactly.
The guy, he threw 4 no-hit innings in a row coming out of the pen, long relief, bulk guy. That's where you should be really freaked out. I don't know if Snell and Glasnow are going to come back and whether they'll be anywhere near to 100%. I wrote about it on my website a couple times this week. Snell is he's got this shoulder impingement issue. And I don't care that he's doing 15 light, soft tosses in the bullpen. That doesn't mean anything. Glasnow is at 95 miles an hour. But the thing with Glasnow is you never know from start to start because his mechanics get so out of whack. And when they get out of whack, something happens. Forearm, shoulder. Last one was the back because they're changing his mechanics because he's so big at 6'7". So I don't know there's a full guarantee that Snell and Glasnow will be this year what they used to be. But at the end of the day, you still got Yamamoto. And obviously, Sasaki, this might just be a total washout year because they got a lot of things they got to fix with the young Japanese rookie. But, look at the rest of the young Dodger pitchers. And, and then you throw into the mix the old dog, Clayton Kershaw's 2-0 after all the surgeries, and he'll always give you 4 to 5 innings as long as he can stand on the mound. Dodgers have depth in numbers, whereas the Padres really don't.
Yeah, and then the Dodgers have a bunch of, cupcakes coming up on their schedule.
Oh, the next 12 games, just, that's what the Padres started the season with.
Yeah. So it's like Colorado and Miami.
And Washington's got an 11-game losing streak. And
but this guy, what was his name? Wroblewski? He's a lefty, and the Padres can't hit lefties.
Couldn't hit him.
Will Cronenworth can't hit lefties. Gavin Sheets looks completely powerless against lefties. Xander can't hit the side of a brick wall. So you get an average Joe out there throwing left-handed. That's why when the Dodgers have their bullpen all lined up, they've got a bunch of really good left-handed throwers in the back end of the bullpen.
And their analytics guys say, the Padres are sending up Arise and his friends that inning. Yeah. Here come all those left-handers.
And then, then they're toast at that point.
Okay. Season's not over, but it's kind of gotten away from the Padres right now.
Okay, here's our good friend David. Thank you, David. He goes, who's your daddy, Padres fans? Let's sweep.
Oh, my goodness. Dodger fan piling on. Yeah. I guess he's wearing Dodger colors.
Well, yeah, there are a bunch of other guys talking about the sweep. Daniel, break out the brooms. Johnny, sweep incoming. Roger, Padres stink. Roger, mighty 690. And San Francisco stinks too. I mean, all kinds of great comments in here. Let's go here to Showtime LA. Dodgers only getting better. Glasnow, Treinen, Snell going to be back soon in that order. This team is about to go on a roll.
Yeah, I got question marks on all 3 of those pitchers. But the thing is, the Dodgers are so doggone deep. That's the most amazing thing right now is how deep they are. I told John last week, I said, how the hell are they still in first place? Dodgers have had 18 pitchers on the disabled list this season, and it's only June. 18 already, and they're in first place. Well, they got great bats. And they're just hitting the hell out of the ball. And, potentially, maybe they're going to get most of these pitchers back. We'll just have to wait and see. But the Padres are the ones that they got a real problem. I don't know where they're going to go get pitching. And, and the Giants, now that they got Devers with Willie Adames, it is hard to believe we're almost to July 1st. They have no wins from Justin Verlander. None, which is absolutely stunning to me. But, again, he's had neck issues. and he's back off the DL right now. But so it's going to be an interesting pennant race. But if the Dodgers get any of these arms in addition to what's already there, this sucker might be over in July for sure.
You know, you were hinting that they were going to maybe get swept in this series, and I was like, oh no. Again, I'm like a half full Padre fan, but it's looking like it's going to be ugly. I mean, do you know who's pitching in tonight's game?
Oh, he asked me too quick.
Okay, but
Yamamoto's pitching for LA, and he's on longer rest now.
Oh, okay, because remember that was a big difference, 4 or 5 days rest, right? Interesting, and I don't even know who the Padres are throwing out there.
It's Ryan.
Oh, Bergert.
He
actually has done pretty well.
I'll tell you, as we have critiqued Bergert, Kolek, Vasquez, those guys have given them a lot of quality innings. Credit to those guys, but those guys also have a bad inning and the game gets away from them.
Yeah, Kolek was pretty good last night. He went into the 7th inning.
Yeah, they dragged him out there. They didn't want to go to the overused bullpen, and they had to go to the overused bullpen late. But no, those three guys have done about as much as you could humanly do for the Padres. But they're starters. I mean, they kept sending Kolek out there. I said, oh, this is going to end bad, and it eventually did. Their starters don't get into the 5th inning at all. So the wear and tear factor on the bullpen is just ridiculous.
What do you think Preller is doing, and him and his guys, because they put together this strategy for the year and they think, okay, we're going to get, we're going to get that left fielder from the Cubs, that's going to play. Why am I blanking out on his name? Jason Hayward. Maybe we could get Connor Joe. Oh, maybe this Maldonado, this Elias Diaz is going to work out. And they probably thought, okay, well, maybe these pieces are going to fit. And now none of them are working.
Outside of Iglesias, nobody has really hit.
None of them.
And he's only hitting 220. He plays a really good defensive shortstop.
And you're paying Xander $25 million a year, and
he's hitting 220.
Like 220. And Preller has got to be pulling his hair out, because when he makes all these decisions, they all kind of sound good. When they sign these contracts or pick up a veteran for leadership, you thought, okay, I buy in, and then it kind of makes sense. And then the whole thing goes to crap.
So it's gone sideways on them right now. They got a half a season, but in essence, they really got about 3 weeks. They've got to do something to add to this roster. This thing's going to get away from them. And the other thing is, it's stupid to look at the standings every morning and say, oh, where are they in the wild card race? Because there's so many games to be played. But that's what Padre fans are doing now. Where are they in the wild card race? Because you look at the other divisions and you got some people that are still hanging in there playing pretty good baseball, and the Padres are not. Padres are 4-10.
There's a tweet that's been getting passed around on Padre Twitter, and it says, oh yeah, the Padres are 8 games over 500. Don't worry about it. The next day, Padres are 7 games over 500. Don't worry about it.
My ass, the Padres are 6-15 against the best teams in baseball they've played.
Okay, well, here, let's back that up. This is Daniel, and he goes, Hacksaw is only speaking the truth. He's a realist.
I am. On a whole bunch of different topics today.
Yeah,
okay,
you are.
Let's move on. Couple other items here.
Okay, Showtime LA says, hey, Mark Walter, Dodgers owner, will get the Lakers front office scouting and analytics top notch. We may be witnessing the golden era of Los Angeles sports. Salute, Mark Walter.
Resume. What's the resume say? I mean, they not only own the Dodgers, they own the Chelsea team in the English Premier League. They are the ones, I didn't realize this till last night, they're the ones that are funding Cadillac Formula One, that financial investment to go to F1 racing.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, TWG. I mean, this is big time. And what do? They're successful, and they do spend money. I don't think there'll be any argument about luxury tax and aprons and all that in the NBA. So it'd be fascinating to see where they go to get players and what they do from a roster standpoint, because they've had a lot of success. Okay, next one.
Okay, keep on trucking. We'll go to Derek. Hey, Tampa has a great team in spite of the owner. What a brutal thing to do to Tampa.
Well, he sold it. He just kind of gave up. And he's tried really hard. I don't know Sternberg. I know what I've read about Sternberg. He seems to be held in high regard. He had a lot of problems with the people in St. Petersburg about trying to get the stadium done. And then, obviously, he can't control the elements that destroyed Tropicana Field. But from just a baseball perspective, they've had pretty good product. Now, everybody steals their front office executives. Those general managers are in Tampa or working a whole bunch of other places because the Andrew Friedmans of the world woke up and said, I don't want to work in this environment where all I can spend is $51 million on players, etc. They've done, from a baseball operations standpoint, very well, but they've not been able to get the stadium situation done. And then God came in with the hurricane and destroyed Tropicana Field. So the Jacksonville people are well heeled. There are former NBA executives that are part of the Jacksonville consortium that's buying this team. So the question is, will the Jacksonville people go back to the table with St. Petersburg and Tampa and say, okay, let's rethink this stadium and how we're going to pay for it? Or is Jacksonville going to say, we're moving a sucker, we're moving to Jacksonville, or we're moving to Nashville, where there are people out there with money in their hands that say Nashville can be a great Mid-South market team. So remains to be seen what the future Tampa Bay Rays is, but I think it's going to be viewed differently with the Jacksonville consortium now being the point people to run it.
Yeah, it's interesting, that whole northern Florida. You've got Tampa and Orlando and Jacksonville that are all up there.
But Jacksonville's in the northeast corner.
Yeah.
Orlando is the east central part.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got Miami down here at the bottom with Tampa on the west side.
Yeah.
Tampa's on the sun coast. Tampa, it's a vibrant market. Tampa Bay, Sarasota, Bradenton, Clearwater. There's a lot of people that live there, but they've just never grasped supporting Rays baseball through some of the good years that they have. It's weird, the poor attendance. Maybe it's got to do with the Suncoast Dome, Tropicana Field, where it's located. Maybe it's got to do with the fact they're all retired people living down there would rather sit home and have their cocktails and watch a game on TV. ratings are phenomenal. Attendance ratings are just dismal.
The Buccaneers, they draw well, right?
But that's the NFL.
I know, but still, there's fans that are paying money.
Tampa Bay Lightning draw really well, but that's a younger demographic. That's a hockey demographic.
What about the Orlando Magic? That's only a couple hours away. Did they get good crowds
They
there?
did when they were winning.
Mm-hmm.
But that's on the other side of the state, and that's a single entity thing. The Magic is the only thing they have in Orlando.
Okay, so now still the Rays are playing in that Steinbrenner Stadium.
Legends Field.
Open field, and we're going into the summer, and we're going to start getting rain.
They gotten rain already, and it's hot.
It's going to be steamy, man.
No, it's steamy and bad as Sacramento. Do you know the Athletics home record in that stadium is 13-25? Their home record. It's just miserable in Sacramento.
Have you seen those catches that the A's center fielder has been making?
On the top of the
unbelievable. Yeah. That's a guy you want to go see play.
But they're 13-25 at home.
Yeah.
And you're going to spend big money to sit outside and sweat in Sacramento on a summer night.
It's going to be brutal there in the
Steamy.
summer. Yeah. Okay, let's go here to Hector. He goes, "Hey Lee, small fact check. O'Malley sold to Fox, who wanted to prevent content for an ESPN regional network. Fox sold to the McCourts."
My bad. And Fox wasn't there that long, and it didn't go very well. And then they kind of gave up the ghost, and then McCourts came on board, and they were shysters, etc. So, yeah, my bag. You're correct. I totally zoned out on. But my rationale was O'Malley, the family, felt they could not be in big business baseball, being a family owner, and that's why they got out. And Fox might have been one of the first corporates to jump in, and then they jumped out.
Now I'm going through my head of all the professional sports franchises. Which ones are still kind of family run? Are the Steelers one of those?
Rooney's, yes. The Maras, New York Football Giants.
Mm-hmm.
The Jets. The Browns are owned by the Haslam family. It's not corporate entity. The Bengals, because that's where I used to work, so I know a lot about the Rust Belt group. So it's changing, and now each of the leagues is now changing its bylaws to allow corporate ownership to come in as a minority holder.
Well, like, for example, the Tigers are owned by the guy that owns Little Caesars, right?
Yeah, the pizza man.
Was it Mike Ilitch? Is that his name?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's interesting. He owns it as a person, but it's not like the Little Caesars has a stake in it. No. I wonder why they wanted to prevent corporate ownership from having a majority share.
Good question.
Why not? If they can bring the investment dollars and make this thing work, because family businesses, there's only so many families that can be thrown around billions of dollars.
I guess the burning question is corporate America comes in, and what's the history of corporate America? CBS, now this goes way back. CBS bought the Yankees and almost wrecked the franchise.
Oh, wow. When was this?
This goes back into the 60s, into the 70s.
Oh, interesting.
And then that's why Steinbrenner wound up going to New York. Steinbrenner was supposed to buy the Cleveland Indians because he's a Cleveland native.
Oh.
And he wound up, Steinbrenner's a shipbuilder. CBS Corporate came in, bought the Yankees, and the Yankees, boom. Now, this was after the Mantle, Maris, the great eras of Yankee baseball. And it was pitiful. And then Steinbrenner changed his mind at the last minute and decided I'll go to New York, and then obviously became the entrepreneur there, but he was a shipbuilder. So, but one of the concerns that pro sports has is, do we want foreign investors to come in? There's Saudi money out in that hallway. There's Saudi money that's tried to buy its way into NFL minority ownership, and the league has said no. Now they will allow corporate investment. If Alcoa wants to come in and become part owner of a franchise, you can get minority ownership, but they will not allow foreign entity governments to come in because they're fearful that with all the money that the Saudis have and where that money came from, that Saudis going to start buying pro sports franchises. And they don't want to see that. It's happened in soccer. It's happened other places in other sports abroad, not here in the States. So they're very, very structured as to who's allowed to be a minority owner, etc. It's pretty complicated for talk radio.
And every sport's going to have different values, and it's complicated, no doubt. Okay, let's keep going. Let's go to Callan. He says, MLS needs a longer schedule than 34 matches. Makes no sense that you can play every club in the league at least once, especially when Messi plays in your league. Every market deserves to see him.
Yeah, but, you get running into a whole bunch of other things. Then your pay scale is going to be much higher. How many games can you play? The English Premier League, I think, plays 42. And that doesn't include all the Champions League and all these other individual things that their marquee teams go play. So there's an awful lot of teams in MLS. I like the idea that, we want to see Messi play out here, but we don't get much of a chance to see that game with STFC or Galaxy, whatever. But how many more games can you add to the schedule? That's the crisis that soccer's got globally right now, is they're just adding. There's only so many days these guys can play because they need recovery time. It's a big issue. I read stuff from the media in England a lot because I've kind of gotten hooked on English Premier League, and they write about this stuff every week about this war, about what FIFA has done, and it's all a money grab for FIFA. It's not for they may hide under the flag of we're trying to grow the sport globally. No, you're trying to get more TV contracts, and players are really upset. We'll see where it goes.
Well, it's funny because we've been talking about all these extra tournaments, and I never in a million years did I think someone would want to expand the MLS season. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's only 52 weeks in the year. I mean, it's logistics, it's math. You can't make it fit all.
Yeah, that's what they're arguing about right now.
Okay. I mean, of all the sports, I think, doesn't the NBA kind of stretch the longest? They start like in late October and they finish in mid-June?
Well, baseball's at 162. And a lot of people think that's too long because the playoffs have grown. The playoffs have expanded, and that's the most important time and the most exciting time of the year. Wild card games, etc.
Baseball is basically 6 months of the regular season and then add a month on bookends for spring training and playoffs. So it's an 8-month gig. 4 months off.
Yeah.
There's no way these guys in soccer are going to get 4 months off.
No.
It's just impossible.
There's too many games, but it's all driven by TV contracts and more games, more gate receipts, etc.
Yeah.
It's never ends.
Here, let's talk a little bit more about some financials in sports. This is from John. Lakers for $10 billion? Yes, I'm sure Dean Spanos' eyes are rolling like a cash register.
Well, everybody's eyes are rolling. But how many of those can do that? Remember, you're buying a heritage franchise in the biggest market. That's different than buying the old San Diego Chargers, LA Chargers, who haven't won bleep, and by the way, are a tenant and are not a big business because they don't own their own stadium and all that. It's different than if you're buying the New England Patriots, etc. So will the prices rocket? I think for name marquee franchises with history, yes. But the average franchises, nah. I don't think so.
I just remember when Ballmer bought the Clippers, and that was $2 billion. I mean, so these just numbers just keep getting crazier.
And he overpaid for that because there was no heritage track record there, but he wanted in. He had the wealth and resources because he was such a great entrepreneur, and he's been such a great owner who's never gotten the reward yet. But yeah, the numbers have gone up. As I say, this 10 billion valuation for the Lakers. Now that incorporates everything. That incorporates the arena, and you're buying heritage. You know, the Washington Redskins Commanders, that price tag was $6 billion for Josh Harris to take it when they evicted Daniel Snyder out as owner. You know, prior to that, the Dallas Mavericks, I think when Mark Cuban sold it, might have been $3.2 billion. So the numbers in certain sets of circumstances, market and heritage of the franchise has a lot to do with that price tag going up and up.
Well, there's only so many teams, right?
Yep.
And well, how many teams are in the NBA? Is it 30 or 32?
Yes, 30.
30, yeah. So there's only that many seats at the table.
Agreed.
Scarcity.
Okay, let's move on. A couple more here before we get to social media.
Okay, let's go to Robert. He goes, hey, any updates on the NASCAR street race in San Diego?
It's being discussed. It's fascinating to me because NASCAR is under a lot of pressure to put an event back into Southern California. You know, with the shutdown, renovation, whatever, closure, whatever you're talking about at Fontana, there's no events here. IndyCar has obviously the Long Beach Grand Prix, and they signed that extension. That's been 50 years running. It's funny you mention it because I was trying to think where would they run a quote road race, because it's all about marketing the market, the San Diego. But where are you going to run it? You can run it on Harbor Drive by the airport.
Yeah.
You know, where in the streets of downtown San Diego could you actually run it? Would you run it over the Coronado Bridge? I mean, I try to figure out where you would put a quote road course, because then you want these guys to be completing laps. So how do you do that? I'm fascinated by it. I was told the Mexico City thing kind of looked unique, but NASCAR's teams are really upset. Get this, John. They raced at Michigan. They raced the Michigan 400. After they were done a week ago Sunday, they loaded all their equipment, all their cars or trailers. Those guys drove 40 hours to get to Mexico City to get set up. And they got it set up. Then they raced to Mexico City. Then they had to tear it down and to drive 40 hours back because they're running this weekend in Pocono, Pennsylvania. And the drivers and the crews say that's ridiculous. They really don't have a slot on the schedule to have something on an international venue. There's got to be time on both sides of the schedule. NASCAR runs, I think, 36 races now. So where are you going to put Mexico City on a regular basis? That ask those crews to go 40 hours driving, hauling all those trailers and equipments, set it up, tear it down, and then drive 40 hours back to go to Pocono. So the San Diego, that would be a good fit from a schedule standpoint, because you could put it close to the Sonoma race or maybe adjacent the week after the Phoenix 400. So you'd be in the regions. But where they're going to race? You can close the airport? I don't. Harbor Drive and Coronado Island sounds kind of interesting to me, but it doesn't make sense. I'm not quite sure from a layout. Somebody is good on knows geography. Tell me where we're going to hold a San Diego NASCAR road race.
I saw an animation online of NASCAR going down Harbor Drive and then through some of downtown. But I mean, you know, I've been watching a lot of this F1 racing. I mean, especially we talk about it a lot in the podcast. You know, these road races, they're cool visually, you know, to see the city and everything. But the courses are so narrow, you can't really pass. No. So then it makes you think, oh, I want to watch like a race on an oval where they have all the room to pass, but then it's kind of boring just going around in circles. Yeah. So
a lot of creative genius out there. We'll see if they can execute this to be kind of fascinating if we did. I just don't know where they're going to run it. Okay, let's go to social media. We got a ton of people, I'm sure, here with opinions.
Oh, yes, definitely do. Okay, let's go here to, this is kind of a neat comment. This is from Ike. He goes, hey, as a Dodger fan, this is the most balanced San Diego channel available. Honest, fair, and balanced.
Sometimes Padre fans don't believe that, but sometimes Dodger fans don't believe it either. All we do is put topics on the table, express opinions of the topics on the table based on our knowledge and our inside information and then ask you to respond. So sometimes I get high, hard ones hit back at me. Sometimes I get knocked down with beanball pitches. That's okay.
Yeah, you and Fox News, man, both fair and balanced, right?
I wouldn't say that.
Okay, let's keep going. All right, let's go to Joel. And like Hacksaw, but please stop saying San Diego is LA's rival. It's not true.
Well, I think emotionally, the games have really been cool. I mean, I'd say the last 3 to 4 years, Padre Dodger baseball has just kind of been electric, whether it's at Petco or whether it's at Chavez Ravine. You know, who's dominating? Well, sometimes the Dodgers win. A couple times the Padres have won. So it's a good, I think it's a really good rivalry. Is it a historic rivalry? Hell no. You know, because the Dodger-Giant rivalry goes back there and, you know, when they were in Gotham, aka New York. But I think it's good for baseball. It's and the managers have probably had something to do with it. The personalities has had something to do with it. So I think it's just great for the game that this rivalry exists now, and it sure does mean a lot.
I think you can categorize rivalries into different buckets. And I think that's part of the confusion here because, yeah, obviously Dodgers, Giants, Yankees, Red Sox, Packers, Bears, those go back way back in history. And those are historical rivalries. But these other kind of trendy rivalries do come and go. I mean, we've seen the Chargers have a big rivalry go for a number of years with the Chiefs. You know, they became real hot and heavy, those games during the middle of the season. So and we know that the players have all admitted it. The Dodger players, Mookie and all these guys have all said the energy at Petco Park is different. And this is game on when we play them. So the players acknowledge this as a rival. The only people that don't accept it as a rivalry are the snotty Dodger fans that think they're high and mighty, better than everybody else.
You are one of them, right?
Oh, yeah, right.
So, no, I think it's a great rivalry. Have they beaten them? Maybe they got to beat them a whole bunch of years in a row, go to their own World Series. Maybe that would change the cast of characters. But right now, I think it's good for baseball. And maybe that's because Dave Roberts is kind of a conduit to this relationship versus that franchise.
Oh, I mean, yeah, if you were like a script writer, this got all the makings of a Hollywood script, right? You know, all the personal histories of the players and of the fans, and yeah, and like Dave Roberts is one of many cases.
And Manny Machado, we all need somebody to hate, so Dodger fans just attach that.
He gets booed everywhere, but really gets booed at Dodger Stadium and then in Milwaukee for other reasons.
Okay, Joel, thanks for being with us.
Okay, let's talk some NFL football here, and we'll go to Steven talking about Aaron Rodgers. He goes, I remember the 2020 season when Pittsburgh started 11-0 with Big Ben and that amazing defense. Big Ben played so horribly on that run. I remember thinking if Aaron swapped places at that time, there would be no team that could beat the Steelers because all they needed was someone to not turn the ball over so much because that defense was going to eat no matter what.
Stephen, I guess we'll view this on two different levels. You are remembering Aaron Rodgers' greatness, Green Bay. We're dealing with Aaron Rodgers, a different dimension of a veteran quarterback at this point in time. However, whatever they got right now with Aaron Rodgers, who is healthy, is a hell of a lot better than I've had the last 5+ years since Ben Roethlisberger retired. So if you got a guy who's got spirit, makes plays, guy that's got brassy attitude, and then you surround him with playmakers, and they seem to think they have enough, and you add in all things TJ Watt in the defense, he's going to be a difference maker. But again, he's not Aaron Rodgers at the top of his career at Green Bay, but he's Aaron Rodgers today, which is better than what you've had in the last 5 years since Ben Roethlisberger retired. Yes? No?
Just goes to show you how hard it is to find a good quarterback.
Sure.
I mean, they're like a unicorn. You know, they're hard to find. So it'll be fun watching Aaron Rodgers here. You know, we'll see how it goes. You know, just kind of a weird thing is, you know what, on the Pittsburgh Steelers helmet, like you can see a little bit of it on screen there. It has that yellow stripe down the middle. Mm-hmm. And then the players will put the number in white on the black sides of it. But Aaron Rodgers in the uniform mock-ups I've seen of him, the white 8 is on the gold stripe, you know, because it's just a single digit.
I don't know.
Have you paid attention to that?
You're big on clothing, I know. Well, it's design just, and
but
despite the way you dress, yes.
It's part of the fun of sports.
Yeah,
you know, and just to learn about how they do their things and the numbers of the players wear. Okay, let's talk soccer. And this is with Junito. And he goes, I agree with you on the criticism, you know, about Christian Pulisic and everyone else. But everyone's criticizing is leaving out the Pochettino just got appointed to manage the national team. That's a new coach in less than 24 months to get a team ready with his playing style. The federation is to blame for being in this position. There's a lot of this isn't just the players not playing well.
Well, it's a combination of late arrival, obviously new coach, new system, complicated by injuries. I mean, they've got 13 guys that have been hurt playing for their other clubs. And as Pulisic said, I played 53 games in 2 years. This is the wear and tear because of all the extra demands I've made on him at AC Milan is just extensive. And Pochettino agreed these guys need time off. Now, we'll see. They play the second game of the Gold Cup tonight. They play Haiti. And then they play Saudi Arabia tonight. And then they play Haiti on Sunday, which will wrap up the group play for Team USA. So, I mean, they jumped in, they beat up a bad Trinidad side. We'll see what they do in game 2 against the Saudis. We'll see what happens come Sunday. But
now, wait a minute. The Saudi game's got to be a friendly, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not part of this CONCACAF.
It's
or the Gold, there's a Gold Cup.
Gold Cup, yeah.
But the Gold Cup is just the teams in North and Central America and the Caribbean, right?
Good question.
So I think the Saudi thing, I'll bet you that's probably a friendly.
Okay. Well, we'll just see if Team USA can win here and then what they do with Haiti.
Yeah. Okay. Let's keep going here. And let's talk about, this is kind of a funny one here. We'll go about Tom, little Manny Machado smack talk from Scott. And he goes, hey, bottom half of the Padre lineup is pathetic. Plus, Manny Machado is a little bitch.
Well, Manny does hit. Manny does have great defensive skills. Manny's a baller. Manny plays every game. Never an excuse. He's had good stretches, bad stretches. He's had a weird defensive season. He's got 11 errors already, but I mean, he's in a hot corner. He's where all the action is all the time. So Manny's a complete player right now, and you may not like him because of the way he's acted in the past or he's loafed or whatever, but he's a pretty good ball player. They're better with him than they would be if there was no Manny Machado at third base.
You know, once you understand Manny Machado, you realize that he's a dude. You know, and he's got like idiosyncrasies. You know, he doesn't like to run out like a lazy ground ball in the infield. You know, he'll get a little snotty with people. Remember, he kind of there's a video that went around where he was with the Padres in the on-deck circle at Dodger Stadium, and Dodger fan was saying, we're going to win a championship before you. And Machado said, yeah, I'll bet you my whole paycheck that the Padres are going to have a championship before the Dodgers. Of course, that didn't work. I just think Manny, he's playing ball for all the right reasons, you know, and he's serious about his craft. You know, he's not just a stuck up guy or has a bad attitude. He wants to win. He wants to be respected.
He's there all the time.
So I like having him on our team. I think the people that call him a little bitch are just Dodger fans, just being pissy, you know?
Well, they were pissy the way it ended. And then he didn't help the cause. He said a lot of stupid, immature things very much at the end of his run with the Dodgers about, I'm not Johnny Hustle. Well, you should be for that kind of money, but so be it. He's ours. He's a good player. Who would you want? Kevin Kuzmanov?
Yeah.
Arkisin Fracco?
Yeah.
Those are good guys, but they're not equal to what this guy is.
Machado is a Hall of Famer, man. We're going to see 3,000 hits. And I mean, he's on track for at least 400 homers. He just passed 350, I think.
Yes.
I mean, dude is a stud. He should have way more Gold Gloves than he has. He got Nolan Arenado seemed to always get the Gold Gloves and leave Machado behind. He only has 1 or 2.
Yep. He's not going to get one this year. But.
No, he doesn't. This year, he doesn't deserve it.
Okay,
let's go here. More smack talk from the Dodgers. He goes, love you, Lee, but the season is already over for the Padres. The Dodgers need to be more worried about the San Francisco Giants and Arizona Diamondbacks making a run than the Padres figuring things out this season.
Well, we got baseball trade deadline. We'll see if this general manager can do something to add something. Short rental, might be a pitcher, should be a left fielder. Roster we have today, I don't think it's the roster we're going to have at the trade deadline. And then we'll just see. Injuries change the whole factor in the equation. I mean, it is amazing the Dodgers are still in first place considering the mass number of injuries that they've had along the way, and so be it. And once if you can get to October, then everything changes because now it's short series and you just never know. This is obviously a Dodger fan who doesn't think this is much of a rivalry.
This is another dude taking a shot at Padre fan right here. That's what this is, you know? And again, this is part of the fun of sports and part of this. it's a rivalry, and the people that say it's not a rivalry keep throwing this crap out there to try to keep their little brother down, and so it's a rivalry in a different dimension than the Dodgers and the Giants, and I think it's all good. So, but is the Padres season over? It could be. I mean, I'm not hopeful for tonight's game. Likely they're going to be swept. I think they're like, what now, 4 or 5 games out of first place.
7.
Is it 7 now? Holy crap. So, yeah, I mean, this thing could go sideways in a hurry.
I told you so. Did I say that last week that I was concerned?
Nobody likes that I told you so.
Did I say that I was concerned where we might be by Thursday at 10 p.m. when this 4-game series at Dodger Stadium was over?
Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. I was the internet before the internet.
I told you so.
You are the original artificial intelligence. Okay?
Listen, we hope you've enjoyed this podcast. This podcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. Build it, fix it. We guarantee you will enjoy it at Dixieline. John, take a deep breath. Big, great sports weekend is just ahead. And next week, boom, NBA draft, NHL draft almost side by side. We'll be covering that on Monday, in addition to all the other topics on the table. Why? Because we do sports talk the way it should be done.
That's right, man. That's right. He's exactly right, man.
Damn
awesome.
right.
This is going to be great.
Hey, thank you for being with us. And again, we congratulate you. We just busted through the 8,000 subscriber number just on our YouTube channel alone. You guys make this show great. Tell all your friends. Share that we're on Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Want you to sample my website. I write on it every day, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. It's their first thing every morning. Check it out. You'll get your fill of all the big stories there are. Follow me on social media. Join my Hacksaws Insiders group. When you check the website, you can register there. Have yourself a great sports weekend. As always, thanks for being with us on Hacksaws Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaws Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps. For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.